All right, hey, Chubbies, we're back. Look who we got. We got our boy Grant Mastin. Let's see, Grant, which camera? You are in that camera.
I'm in
Grant.
that one.
That one right there. Yeah, I'm in that one. Yeah. So welcome back, my friend.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah. What's up, man? It's been a year.
It has been. It's been a great year.
And a huge year.
It's been a great year.
For you. You have, how was your first year of college, by the way?
I loved it.
Did you get a girlfriend?
I mean, nah, I don't know.
You can't say this. Mom's going to be listening.
No. She's good. I don't know. That's a tough question right now.
Tough question?
I'll get back with you in like 6 weeks, 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah, okay. 4 to 6 weeks. We'll give it a month and a half. I'll let you know for sure.
Okay. All right.
What else? Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. Sounds good.
So you're at TCU, so Texas. You're in what part of Texas?
Fort Worth. So Dallas, Fort Worth, North Texas area.
In your wheelhouse.
Right there. It's perfect. It's got all of my personalities,
Right
you can wear starch jeans and cowboy hats, or you can go out in joggers and
tell me about
sweatshirt.
TCU. Tell me what the lifestyle's like.
It's great. Everyone there is super kind. When you think of Southern hospitality, you can kind of envision TCU. Beautiful campus. I've never seen a campus get taken care of better than they do there. Faculty are great. Staff, your professors, everyone there is just so kind. They want. I hit that. That's on me. But no, it truly is a great place. Everyone there is so kind. Small class sizes, which is really nice because you wouldn't think of that when you think of a big university.
How big's your classes?
I think the
big majoring in
finance, and then I'm minoring in political science. So I'm planning to go to law school maybe later on in life.
Are you?
That's the plan right
That's
now.
The plan.
But the class sizes are pretty small. I had like a general fine arts class that I took first semester. It was like 80 people. It was a lecture. But then my next biggest class I've had all year is probably 30 people. Very small. Even though we're in the Big 12, we're a major Power 5 school, we only have, I think, around 10,000 students on campus, and then probably around 12,000 total with graduate and undergraduate students combined. So pretty small school relative to other major schools, like when you think of like Ohio State in the Big 10.
How many they have, 50, 60?
Way more than us. I know that. Probably around the 60 range, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I know they did, like, when we played Michigan, I know they did a comparison, and, like, the sizes are just drastically different.
Are they?
Between the two schools.
So how big, like, what would you compare that campus to? Like, is it green? Is the weather good all the time? Is it, you know?
I don't know. It's just, like, you have to be there. Like, it's beautiful.
Never been
and
before.
Everyone I talked to that went there before, they always talked about like how beautiful the campus was, how much, all the things I just told you. And it's almost like too good to be true.
Yeah.
But then you're there and you're like, this is real life. And I don't know, they keep it green during the summer and springtime. During the winter, it's a little bit harder. It's more dry. We kind of had a little bit of a rougher winter. It's got kind of cold, but I don't know. I became soft ever since I went down there. If it's below like 50, I'm in a sweatshirt and sweatpants.
Not your thing anymore.
No, not my thing anymore. No, I love it. People are like I said, people are great. Weather's great. I've never really spent that much time there before I went down.
But Texas, though, you had.
No, I mean, maybe a little bit just from visiting or flying through or whatever, but most of my time I've spent out west is like Arizona, Oklahoma, states like that. So moving to Texas was kind of an adjustment for me, but, just growing up, showing horses, knowing people from all around the country, and knew a lot of people around the area, especially like north of Fort Worth and kind of west of Fort Worth and like Pilot Point or Weatherford, areas like that. It's kind of big horse country, especially in what we do. My horses are in Nashville. Oh, okay. So I'm kind of located. I got Ohio, Nashville, Fort Worth. I'm kind of all over the board.
Yeah. Okay. So you don't drive. You wouldn't drive from Texas to Nashville.
It's not that bad of a drive. I think it's like 9 hours. I've never made the drive. I usually just fly.
Bad. Yeah.
Because we have two major airports within an hour. I think DFW is like 30 minutes and Dallas Love's 45. So, I mean, you can always get a flight out at a decent time.
Yeah.
Wherever you're trying to go throughout the country. So. That's pretty convenient there too, especially traveling as much as I do. So definitely makes it easy.
So what do you do on the weekends over there?
Kind of just depends.
Party. You party?
No, we don't party.
You never did party.
No, we don't party. We study.
No. You probably do, Grant. I mean, you're like one of those kids.
Just depends on the weekend, But I don't know. Some weekends I'll go meet up with like friends and go ride the horses and just visit with them. There's always things going on. Like Will Rogers, it's right down the road. They always have a lot of like cuttings going on, ropings, different things like that. So I'll usually have a lot of friends down, especially when the ropings are in.
Are those like going to a football game there? Are they like that big a deal?
I mean, they're a big deal. I mean, that place is always packed with just like trailers, motorhomes, all of that. But it's pretty cool. And I don't know. I've always I still need to go to a high school football game down there. I mean, you hear all the
Texas,
hype, but I just want to experience it. Like a Duncanville game, you see the videos all over. Or like Allen, you see all the videos all over social media. Yeah. Like I just want to like see
it one time, just
because there's always this big like kind of beef between like Ohio and Texas and Georgia and Florida and California, about who has the better football. And I mean, obviously they're all great states and there's a lot of great teams down there. So I just need to take time out of my schedule next semester and just go visit like at least one of those stadiums and watch one of those games. But
it's coming.
It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming in 3 months for you.
Right.
So going back to that, going back to football, that was kind of one of the intents in going down there, and you got a chance this year to participate in spring ball.
Right.
Okay. Of a team that last year was on the national championship stage. Right?
We were.
So, I mean,
we're the last two teams playing, but one of the last two teams.
So tell me what is a day like? What is the atmosphere like coming into spring ball off of a national championship season? I mean, obviously they didn't win. But
right.
What was that mentality? I mean, how was that mindset like?
It's kind of, I don't know how to really, you kind of have to be there, right? Like, sure. You have to be in it. But, I mean, it's intense. You wake up in the morning. We start working out at 6 every morning at the latest. Like their schedules change depending on what we're doing that day and whether we're in winter workouts or spring football because we kind of have to just gauge it. But, like, winter workouts, it's intense. We're dialed in, constant, just going.
6 a.m. You're starting.
I mean, it's long days, but, I love that. Like, that's something that I thrive off of, right? Wake up at 5, be at the facility, get ready, you be up there, you're ready to roll, right? And, go through your workouts, go eat breakfast, might have film, there's so many components into it, but, it's great. And it's nothing like you can even compare,
What's the difference level in football?
I mean, everyone's solid, everyone's just
great athlete, X's and O's.
Oh, it's a lot. I mean, there's so many different calls for just, a singular play, whether it be your hand signals or, or just the looks of it.
So give me the difference in give me an example. What position did they have you in?
I was playing Mike,
linebacker.
Right.
You was playing Mike linebacker?
I was.
So give me an example on what what would you be doing differently on that level on a play versus what you would be doing in high school versus I mean this as far as like as a coaching standpoint. Right. How would they take you and what's something that you were like, oh wow, okay.
I think the biggest thing it's all situational, right? Like would you see that on the high school and college level? But there's so many different things that you kind of look at that level that's different.
The keys.
Like your keys. I mean, there's some similarities, but, you really have to be cognizant of everything that's going on the offense, and you have to be cognizant of those around you. And there's a lot of trust that has to be there too. You know what I mean? So, you can't try to overcompensate or do someone else's job. I think that's something that, you can kind of get away with in high school. If you kind of bail on your assignment or, you know what I mean? You can just go be an athlete and go make plays. And at the end of the day, I mean, that's kind of what football is. You have to be an athlete, right? You have to be willing to make plays, but you also have to be very strict on knowing like what your assignment is, where to be, how far to line up off the ball, because it's all situational, right? And I think, and even with like the personnel, I mean, it changes. Just
so you'll know they'll bring an
happening.
example like you need to be a yard. If this guy's here, you need to get up here to a yard off the ball or 2 yards off the ball. Or I mean,
Right.
are you talking
like,
about that type of situational?
Right, and or like the play calls, like at some play calls you might be 5 deep off the line, but then other plays you might be playing like 7 yards back to the sticks. It just depends on what's going on, and like you just have to be you just have to be cognizant of it, and you just have to really study and know the plays, because there's so many different calls that can go together, right? There's so many different packages.
Yeah.
And like, usually in high school ball, you only have like your few packages or different things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's so many different packages and stunts, and I mean it's a lot to take in, but once you get it, it makes sense. Like it all flows together. So but it's really, you have to be as determined on I guess that end of it, like the understanding and the studying and, watching your film and, really knowing your X's and O's there. That way you can translate to the field, and you have to be really mindful of making that work back and forth. And even just those mental reps are huge, because, I mean, you're playing with the best people in the nation. So sometimes, you're not getting as many reps as you want. So you have to be taking those mental reps so you know what you're doing when you go in and you get that opportunity to play.
Yeah. So you're studying on that all the time, thinking about it all the time,
right.
Trying to live it.
Right.
Just breathe it.
You have to love what you like. You have to truly love it. Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, it was an honor. Like, it's an honor to like be able to be in that position and be able to go do that. And I mean, I loved it. Like, I ate it up. That's something I look forward to every day. And like, I loved waking up. I loved going to those workouts. I loved, putting the pads on and going out there, and, everything's just detailed, and it's important in details. Even going through like your individual drills and such. I mean, the way you hold the ball, I mean, as a linebacker, you wouldn't really think of coaching that, but if you think about it, you get an interception or you scoop up a fumble recovery, or, you know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to take care of the ball, because just because you got that turnover, you can't turn that ball back over. Right.
Yeah.
Or even the way you go about,
the
scooping a fumble, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many details that you just have to be cognizant of, just through everything. And that's the important. And that's one thing that like even our strength staff preached during winter workouts was, the attention to details. There's no, like, if you can't cut corners, you know what I mean? Because it's going to be exposed. What happens in the dark comes to light. So if you're not being dialed in every time you do something, that's eventually going to get exposed.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's true with life. That's true with anything in life. Whether it be with your work, school, home life, whatever it is. Like, what happens in the dark eventually will come to light. And I think that's just, those are like the lessons that you learn. I mean, playing those games, like playing football, playing different sports, that you just carry with you. And like, just the importance that one person can make such a big impact on a team. And it doesn't matter your role. And I think that's something that, gets overlooked, especially at the younger levels, like, from Pee-wee to middle school to high school. Like, a lot of guys might be like, well, I'm not the one that's out on the field, making the play every game or every down or whatever it may be. But it's those players, it's a team, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're only as strong as your weakest link. I mean, I know that's kind of a corny saying, but if you think about it, it's really true, because, if one person is not holding up their end of the bargain and they're not contributing the way they need to, then none of it's going to work.
That's
so,
right.
I mean, it's just, there's a lot that goes into it, but there's also so many similarities that you see, throughout life, and it's a mentality. It's all mentality at the end of the day.
I was telling, before we get into that, how was your body going into that spring ball? I mean, did you feel like you were where you needed to be? I mean, you worked, the last time I saw you was this winter, and I mean, in my opinion, you worked as hard this winter as I've ever seen you. I mean,
right. I was pretty determined, and I had a great plan and great mentor with Jason Prater, AP Prep, and him and I, we talked every week. We got our schedule together. We were really dialing in. We were focusing on the areas that we thought, areas that I needed to get better. We were honing in on those, and then, I'd go work out in the indoor, and I'd take videos, and I seemed like hours of videos, and then I'd send them to him. and, you know, we'd break it down and he'd be like, okay, I think we need to focus on this, or we need to start stretching here, like stretching this more. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just like getting your hips loosened up. And I mean, it's like, all it comes back to details and just noticing those little things. And I've been blessed to be surrounded by people that have thought like that with me and have taught me to think like that. So, you know, that I felt prepared going in. And then, you know, as I was in there, I just felt like there was progression throughout, personally for me.
Once you get in there and get a feel.
Right. And it's just like, just understanding and getting used to it, and just getting in the flow of things. You know, I think that's a big transition to make, because it's different, right? And it's become, you know what I mean? Because it kind of does become a job, but I mean, it's something that I truly loved, and I was ready to go in full force and do what I can to take care of business the best that I could.
Yeah, I was wondering how, because, man, this winter, I was kind of worried about you to an extent, because you were hitting it 2 or 3 times a day.
Right. No.
I mean, over Christmas break, whenever you were here, you were getting after it.
Right. We were, and, you know, we still are. I mean, we went to boxing last night.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But no, that was great. But yeah, I mean, we're still focusing.
I'm sore today, by the way.
Right? No, that was Dragon got us on that workout. I'm not gonna lie.
Dragon hates me because I'm fat.
That's not true. I mean, Dragon, don't listen to him. But no, it was I felt pretty dialed in over the winter, and I know it's like with anything that I do, I always try to have the mindset that I'm not just going to go in something just to do it, you know.
I gave me and my dad were talking about you and Olivia Kennedy last night.
She's awesome. She's broke so many records this year. I'm so proud to be her friend.
Shameless plug. I hope you two get married.
I don't know about that one, but she is awesome though. She is awesome
because I love you both, but you two are just incredible. And you know, Dad and I were talking about kids, and because I told him that you and I had boxed, and I was like, Dad, this Grant Mastin. I said it's hard to, because Grant Kennedy, you know, the younger brother,
right?
I always was like, but I was like, this Grant Mastin. I was like, just think of his life, Dad. I was like, you know, everything that he's done, and I was like, you know, what he's doing. I was like, and I brought up the workouts, and I brought up Olivia and you, and I was like, you know, champions like Olivia and you are, you know, shout out Olivia, because she did lose her grandfather yesterday morning, and you know, I was talking to Randy yesterday too, and her dad, and she was actually over at the house whenever her grandfather passed. But the reason she was over there was because she had gotten up at 6:30, whatever time it was, and she was working out. And then she was going to stop over there and have coffee with them, and just, you know, be a grandkid, and, you know, stop over there and have breakfast with them. And you know, the thing with you two kids, okay, and this is what I always try to think of my son, and that's why I always love it whenever you acknowledge him and you get around him, because I want to keep him around you guys, especially you. But like what I've always noticed about like you and Olivia is you guys put in the work, you put in the time, and you never complain. You know,
there's no reason to. Nobody's going to listen.
You do it with a smile. Like, you know, Olivia, here it is, the summer. Okay, she's been out of school a month, if that.
Right.
You know, and I mean, she's absolutely she's
crushing life.
Crushing life. I mean, she's just crushing life. I mean, we all knew she would, but here she is. She's a month in. A lot of people would be sleeping till noon. A lot of people would be taking the first month off or whatever. Not Olivia. No. Not Grant. No. You guys are right back in there, bright and early. You know, you've got a job this summer. You know, you're working this summer and you have a job, and I mean, you're not complaining a bit. You were right over there yesterday, right after work, working out, grinning the entire time, you know, just smiling about it. And I mean, I've never known you, and I've never known Olivia, to not just grind it out and love every second of it. I mean, you never complained.
Well, it ties back to the mentality thing, though. I mean, if you go in, like, it's with anything. If you go into anything with a negative mindset, if you go in complaining, you know, you're not going to reap the rewards, right? You're not going to receive that full benefit that you're looking for. But I mean, if you just go in and just, I mean, you just love it. Like you just like everything I go into, I just try to love it. And you know, some days it becomes hard. You know, you kind of, you know, we all have those days where we're just not feeling it, right?
Yeah.
And you know, that's why it's important to be like surround yourself with the great people, and you know, and it's important to communicate. I think that's something that gets overlooked so much is, you know, people don't like. It's okay to be vulnerable, you know, like it's okay to share like what's going on in your life. It's okay to communicate with others. Like that's why you're surrounding yourself with the people you surround yourself with.
So you can
right?
get things off your chest.
And, you know, I feel like I've truly been blessed. I've been surrounded by great people. So I'm able to able to truly love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to take a step back and reevaluate like what's going on. But then, you know, that's the moment where you grow and then you jump right back in and you just go full force again, you know?
Oh,
so
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you guys do
you
it.
have to love it, though.
And, you know, your mom did a tremendous job. You know, I was around you from you know, gosh, I think you were how old were you back then?
Really young.
3rd or 4th grader.
Really young.
Yeah, and, you know, your mom did a great job, and we talked a little bit about this before the show, about you didn't get burnt out. You know, and I think a lot of kids, especially like, and I always go back to my son. You know, I mean, you know, my son, and I always go back to that because that's what I'm doing now. You know, I'm not. Right. It's not so much about me anymore. It's about him. You know, and one of these days you'll go through that. But you know, I always try to think, man, okay, and I think of you, and I think of Olivia, and I'm like, okay, now what did they do? Because man, if I could raise a Grant Mastin, boy, I'm tickled to death. That. You know, I don't want to raise a Jason Gillum. I want to raise a Grant Mastin.
I appreciate
but
that.
You know, how did you keep from getting burnt out on the working out and getting out on the daily regiments of the grind of it? Because, you know, hey man, there's no worse place to be. You know, Chad will tell you 1,000 times, there's no worse place to be than a football field you don't want to be on. Hey guys, huge thanks out there to everybody down at Geiger Brothers Construction. Those guys as a whole unit have just been wonderful for the Chubbies. We appreciate each and every one of you hardworking people out there that listens to us. And thank you, Geiger Brothers Construction, for all your project needs. Give those guys a call, 740-286-0800.
Right.
I mean, and I mean, you know, to my knowledge, you didn't do any travel ball of any sort.
Not really. I mean,
basketball too.
Maybe a little bit, but I mean,
and that was early.
It was when I was younger, but I mean, like you said, I was blessed with a great mother.
Yeah,
she really took care of me in all aspects, and
you did what you loved.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting ready to say. She didn't make me choose, and I think that's one of the biggest things that, you know, she made so many sacrifices for me, and I'm like forever grateful for her, right?
Well, she did, yeah.
She's truly the bomb. Like, she's the best. Yeah. But
hustler.
She is a hustler. And I think she instilled that in me too, because I was just growing up and I always saw her, and even now, she always is going, right? Like always, and like it's not even when the job's finished, there's another job that needs to be taken care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, job's not done type mentality, and so I think that definitely helped me a lot, just instilling that kind of mentality in me, that, like, you know, when you put your mind to something, like, you're going to do it, and we're going to be the best that we can at it. But the thing is, though, and I mean, she tells this to everybody, but like, she truly never made me choose. So like, whether it was the horses or football or baseball or basketball, and, you know, as I got older, I kind of faded away from doing.
How did that go? You and I really never talked. And I remember you were a football, basketball, baseball kid.
Right. When I was younger, I kind of did all sports, but, you know, as I just got older, I mean, I just didn't enjoy doing those things anymore. Like, baseball wasn't really my thing, you know. It was kind of like too slow, you know what I mean? Like, there just wasn't
enough action.
Yes, in a way, but I just didn't enjoy, you know, always just going. So, I mean, after I think the last time I played was like 5th or 6th grade, but like after that season, I'm like, you know, it's okay for me not to do this. And then so, like, you know, I just kind of focused on football and basketball, but even as I went through basketball, and
you maybe lasted another year in basketball.
Right. I think the last year I played basketball was in 8th grade, which, I mean, that was fun. You know, got to be with my friends and all that. But as I got into high school, that wasn't really what I wanted to do. And, there becomes a lot more, we talk about the transition from high school to college with, commitment with football and academics and all of that. I mean, that's a big transition, but there's also a big transition from your middle school to high school years, because what you do in high school, that counts. Like, that's what takes you to the next level. You kind of, middle school is definitely important, and, it's definitely not something you should slack off on. But when you get down to like the nitty gritty, like that high school, what you do from day one, that sticks with you it can stick with you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? That determines the outcome for what happens next, right? So when I really evaluated that, basketball wasn't really my forte, but like I love football, right? And I love showing horses, and I loved doing all these other things. So that's when I started really focusing in on those things, like on those specific sports, because that's what I love to do. But I never was forced to make a decision. And I think that was what's important, is that all of those decisions that I made to not play those sports or to do what I've done wasn't because I was forced to. I made those on my own. And I think that also helped me mature and like really realize what's important to me, if that makes sense. And, I was blessed with a great mother that, supported those endeavors. And obviously, there's a lot of bumps along the way, and, dumb mistakes that you make as a kid, and, you have to learn from them. But like she was great about keeping me on the straight and narrow and trying to do the right things, and, just being a good human. I think, I really wouldn't be who I am without her. But I think that's the biggest thing, is she never made me, all of my choices when it comes to like playing sports and what I was doing were on my own. She never was like, no, you're going to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, it never became.
What about whenever like you were and I coached this year, Gibson, or I helped coach. I didn't coach, but I helped coach Gibson's baseball team. And I had a few kids on the team that their parents made them.
Right, and I feel like you see that a lot too, especially at a younger age.
Well, and I'm not, as a young parent, I think I don't see necessarily anything wrong with it at that age.
I think there needs to be a fair balance, because I think that it's situational. Okay, like I think if
you've got a kid that won't get off the couch,
right?
Yeah.
Like in that situation, then yes, it's good for them to like force them to get into something. But say they're involved in like other sports or whatever, they're involved in other extracurriculars, and you're like, no, you're going to play baseball, or no, you're going to play basketball, no, you're going to play football. You know what I mean? Like not like excluding them from those other opportunities, but like really forcing them. I don't know. I think that might be a little bit of a fine, like a little blurry line that you might be crossing there. But I also think that like if your kid is like, hey, I want to go play baseball, and then you get through halfway through the season, it's not going how they want, then it's like, okay, no, you're going to finish what you started because you made this commitment. You know what I mean? So I think there's kind of those fine lines there.
So you believe in making them finish?
I think you have to. I mean, I think you see so many people anymore. I guess I just, as I get older, I start recognizing this more, but there's so many people that they'll start off with their commitments, but they don't see it through.
Yeah.
And I think that's important, because even if you're doing something you don't enjoy, there's always something to be learned, right?
Sure.
Like you're always learning. And, everyone has their different opinions on that matter, of course, but on like seeing things through. But I've always thought, no matter what I do, if I'm committed to it, I'm going to see through my term. And then if it's something I really don't enjoy, then I can reevaluate it. And if I decide I don't want to do it again, I don't, like, you know what I mean? You just don't do it again. And then as time goes on, if that's something you want to revisit, it's always there to revisit. But if not, then go find another endeavor and like really immerse yourself in that and go full force and be the best person you can be in that.
I definitely don't believe in any split-second decisions. I don't believe in just because you had a bad game or, you got mad at the coach or something. I don't believe in any of that. I think that I think if you saw a kid that had some routine, maybe, no, I don't want to say bad behavior, but let's say routine, what's the word I'm looking for, Grant? Routine, maybe just not in the game, like not feeling it, and you watch that go on for a series of and they were 10.
Right. I think there's situations. There's
just situations with all.
And I think it's all situational, and and obviously not everything's the same, right? Yeah. Like what my experience may be with one person is going to be completely different than your experience with someone else, right? So, I mean,
how much do you think that what you did whenever you were like Gibson's age, like 8, 9, 10 years old, 6? I mean, dude, this is year like 6 of baseball for us. Okay,
that's
crazy, dude.
I think it's a lot. I mean,
but what do you think that like? And you would have been the same way. I mean, they had all that whenever you were there. But so, what do you think? What do you think those years did for you now, if anything?
I mean, I think
other than just fun,
right? I mean, I think having that balance kept me from getting like truly burnt out on the matter. You know what I mean? And I think especially when you start playing sports at such a young age, I think it's great. I think it's great, of course, but I also think there needs to be moderation with it as well, because if you can't. Okay, think of like football, for example. I mean, 10 games is a lot on anybody. 10, 12 games, I mean, that's a lot, especially like in high school and college. And, I mean, even the pros, I mean, they play 16, but still, I mean, that's a lot on their bodies, and they're investing millions, right? So, like, when you think about that as a little kid and, you're playing 8 or 10 games, I mean, that might not seem like a lot to them. But in the long run, I mean, that's a lot for football, for example, that's a lot of hits that they're taking, right? It is. Like, that's a lot of, kind of damage to the body per se. And, so I think there needs to be moderation in that aspect, or like even like baseball. I mean, if you're playing baseball year round, I mean, think about how many games that accumulates from the time you're in, let's say, 3rd grade up until middle school. I mean, that's a lot of games played, and that wears on you.
If you're a freshman in college right now, and you're a baseball player, you probably have 1,200 to 1,500 games under your belt.
I mean, I don't know exactly the baseball season length, but I don't doubt it. I mean, I think there's difference.
Think about that. Right. You're easily playing 100 games a year.
Which I think there's a difference between, in elementary school and obviously I'm not an expert in the baseball. I don't really know what that like recruiting process looks like or anything like that. This is just kind of on the outside looking in. But when you think about it, there's such a big difference in the type of person you are, just in the grand scheme of things, and like from elementary school, like 3rd grade, 4th grade, to who you are even in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. Yeah. Like, and then even once you get out of middle school and you enter into high school, I mean, who you are as a freshman. You got 3 or 4 more
people to be.
Right. Who you are as a freshman is completely different than who you are when I was a freshman, I was 175.
When you were a 4th grader, and if you would have showed me a picture of you right now, I'd have said no way.
Right? No, it was a huge difference. But
huge difference.
Like me being that as a freshman though, like I was a big middle schooler.
Yeah,
right?
You were. Yeah.
But there's a huge difference between that 8th grade to that 8th to 9th grade transition.
Yeah.
So I think. I don't really know that you necessarily need to be putting all your eggs in one basket at a young
10.
age, or, you know what I mean? And definitely like with the baseball, I know that's a year round type thing. And
they're forcing it that way. Like it
was evolving that way even when I was younger, like with fall ball. I mean, I remember that was huge when I was in late elementary and middle school. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guys quit playing football, and some even quit playing basketball because they were playing fall ball. Yeah. And then they would like start over the winter. They'd refocus for the spring. And I mean, that's all becomes like a specialization and getting better. And, I totally respect that.
What are you seeing
especially
now?
As you get older, I think that's good. But I mean, I don't know. I think you just have to be kind of realistic with all of it too.
What are you seeing now? Like with these, you're at the top of the stage. I mean, you're at the top of the pinnacle in athletics. What are you seeing with these D1, TCU kids as far as like any of your peers? What was their childhood athletics like compared to ours here?
Right. I mean, I feel like a lot of the guys I've talked to and like, just have been around, I mean, they all kind of played just a little bit of everything. And, obviously kind of as they got older and got into high school, a lot of them started maybe specializing strictly in football, which – when you're playing at that level, you kind of have to, you know what I mean? Because you can't, I mean, you kind of can't be risking anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I mean, they're all just like, I don't really know how to describe their experiences because each of their experiences are their own.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, but you want to talk about a group of guys that love coming in every day and working out and being excited. Like those are the guys, like they're not burnt out on what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like their bodies might be like, you know, hurting a little bit, but you know, all of those guys come in loving what they're doing, and you know, I think that's just important. Is just I don't want to say there's a right or wrong way to do any of it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not for me to say. That's up to your individual self. But I mean, I think the main point that it all comes back to be, like that all comes back to it, that comes full circle, is you have to love what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
And however that approach comes for you, I think that's different. Because like I said, like what works for me isn't going to work for you and vice versa. But I mean, it all just comes about loving what you're doing and not getting burnt out. And, you know, each person is different. And everyone, like, one thing I have noticed is everyone has their own kind of different hobbies that, you know, you might be surprised. I mean, I can't come up with, like, an exact example off the top of my head, but everyone in there, whether it be, like, trucks and cars or, you know, some kind of, like, fine arts, you know what I mean? Everyone has their own hobbies that is kind of like their getaway. Is kind of
something
one thing
completely off topic, just something
almost right.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Is just, you know, having those hobbies.
Where yours is what, horses? Would you say?
Right. I mean, I think the horses is definitely like.
Did you call that a hobby, Grant?
I mean, I don't really.
You're a world champion.
I don't know. I mean,
2-time.
I don't know. It's a. I don't really. I'm pretty involved in that, right? In all seriousness though. I know I wouldn't necessarily call that a hobby. I mean, kind of is, but I mean, it's also pretty involved too. But that is kind of my getaway.
But guys like you, their hobbies they're involved with too.
Right. And but that is my getaway. You know, if I'm just like really just over it, you know what I mean? Yeah. If I just feel overwhelmed, if I go to the barn or go ride or even just go to a horse show, for example.
Yeah, go to cutting.
Yeah, like go watch, you know, just kind of, that is my getaway. That is my escape. And, you know, I mean, I think that's why I love the horses so much, is because, I mean, when you're around them, you don't like, it doesn't feel like real life. I mean, obviously it is, and it kind of isn't all in the same, realm, but
I've always thought the horses have helped you with your, not yours, but I've thought that the horses has been good for you with like body movements and positioning and like I'm sure whenever you go to a show you're watching, and I know you do, but you know you're watching a lot of that. Like you're watching that.
It's important. Like when you go, I mean, even right now I'm kind of going through this process of really just like watching the videos and really breaking them down to what I'm doing, because you know every detail, I mean, I feel like I keep saying this and I keep repeating myself, but every little detail makes a difference. So whether the way I'm sitting, like, you know, I've been struggling with sitting too far forward, like going over the poles and, you know, or going through my changes.
Or if your foot's not in the right spot and you're letting that horse get a little bit outside or something.
It makes a difference, and it changes the quality that I'm presenting, because you know you have to be show, you have to make a good presentation.
It's called a horse show,
right? And you know I kind of have been struggling. I mean, I think it's just a lot of it's come where I haven't been able to be riding as much as I used to be.
Your body's changed.
It's just like there's been changes there. So I really have to be cognizant of what I'm doing, and you know really evaluating and being real with myself. I think that's one of the. I think that's kind of been one of the bigger issues I've had, is sometimes it's easy to not be real with what you're doing, right? And that's a tough conversation to have with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, it's really just looking at what you're doing and be like, okay, what's going on right now obviously isn't working, so I need to make a change. You know what I mean? Even if you feel like you're doing the same thing that's worked in the past, and even if it has worked in the past, everyone else is trying to catch up to you, right? Or everyone's trying to be better than you. And no matter what you're doing. So you have to evaluate, what are other people doing that's making them come up to me? What are other people doing that's making them pass me up here, right? And then you have to be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do to be better. And I think that's I mean, that's just life.
That's just life. Yeah.
That's life. No matter what you do, if you want to be successful and you want to excel in what you're doing, you cannot become complacent. And I mean, I don't really know how we got to this.
At my age.
I don't know how we really got to this point in this conversation, but you know what I mean? Like, but you can't become complacent in what you're doing. You have to, I mean, you just have to be.
I'm not getting
willing.
complacent at my age, and I'm getting to the point where I can tread water a little bit, you know, and I don't have to go as hard.
Right. Which that's a good place to be.
Well, it's been an exhausting doggy paddle to get here.
Right.
You know, it's taken me 42 years. You know, I don't think complacency is the word that I would use, you know, but then now I've picked up some other hobbies, you know, and that's now I'm focusing on those. You probably noticed last night boxing was that for me this winter.
Right.
And if you don't pay attention, it's a detail thing. It goes right back to what you're saying.
We were even talking about my hooks. I gotta keep my thumb up. You know, I'm wanting to get too much here.
You were jabbing.
I was jabbing when I need to be hooking.
Yeah.
But like I think that's what I like about the boxing though.
You like the boxing?
I think that's what I love about it though, is because
if you're not watching boxing or if you're not into it and you're not into the detail of it, then you just think you're boxing.
Right. You just think you're just throwing punches and going around. But there's so much more to it. And I think that's kind of how I see it. I see it as a new challenge.
Yeah.
I see it as something different. It's something that I want to, like, that's something that I've found that I've really enjoyed.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, even the other day I went and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to buy myself a pair of gloves, right?
Yep.
I
noticed you bought you a pair of gloves.
Right? No, but I pulled the rapper album the other day.
You'll be coming on Saturdays. Wait till you do that.
Right? But,
wait till you do that.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying, though? Like, yeah, so I feel
addicted.
like we're on the same wavelength with that.
Yep. You'll get addicted to it. That's that sport there has been one of the most frustrating sports I've ever seen, as far as detail.
It's tough, and like there's so much timing that's involved.
Timing and body movement,
attention to detail, and you work different muscles too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'll notice like I'll get finished with a workout, and I might be feeling it. But I might be feeling like I'm like, I've never really felt like that sore in that area before. And, I think that's just, I don't know. It was a great experience.
And your heart rate is just,
it's constant. It's a lot of cardio.
A lot of cardio. I noticed last night, and I've been going kind of once every 2 weeks since we got out of that weight loss competition. And Who
won that? I forget.
That guy from Zanesville.
Let me down on that pudge.
Well, he was 20. He was Cody's age. I mean, it's there's just certain things that you
need age groups. You need. We're
going to have to flight that thing. We're going to have to flight that thing. Yeah. Now
next go around.
Massey's down to 207. He's looking good. I got to give him some credit. The
I never thought
fatty
thought I'd hear that.
I know.
Out of your mouth.
I tried to get him to come be the guest host since Chad couldn't make it. Shout out Chad. Chad's mother is sick. Patty. We hope you get better, Patty. But she's not feeling well, so Chad had to go take care of his mom. But that was a great competition. One of these days, whenever sports slow down for you, you'll have to get in one of those.
Right. I love watching it. I love the little back and forth.
I couldn't get him going.
But I think you talked the most.
I did.
I think you talked the most.
That's how I made my living, Grant.
Right. No, I understand, but I feel like I need to see more. More back in the talk.
But hey, I was very happy with my results,
and that's all that matters.
Yeah, I was competing against myself, and Massey and Kiefer.
Did you win at least out of those three?
Massey got me in a category. He got me in. I had to go vegan during that thing because of a gout issue. And
that gout, it always comes and gets you.
It comes, doesn't it? You've been around me, you've seen it. And so I went vegan, and Massey got me in muscle mass gained, but I got him in percentage lost.
I mean, I think that's pretty even.
Oh, we'll go again.
It evens up
if he doesn't die.
If he doesn't die.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting old. I mean, have you seen him? He's so old. He looks like, whenever you get old, you get the purple blotches and stuff on your forearms. That's the way Massey looks now.
You don't have to call him out like that, but.
He wasn't over there last night. I wish he would have.
I saw him on Monday. I actually saw him, and I was about to text you. I'm like, where are you?
I know. He's been getting after it.
I was going to say Massey's here, but.
He's been getting after it.
You were there
good.
Wednesday. You
made up for in the summer, I bike, man.
I really want to get into that. My only issue is I don't have time. Like, I don't feel like I have the proper time to truly get into it. You know what I mean?
I bet you live in a great area in Texas to bike.
I don't know. It's pretty flat.
Is it?
It's pretty flat. I mean, we have kind of our
but the weather's nice.
Weather is nice. It's dry. Round. It's not really too humid.
Is it sandy?
I wouldn't really say it's sandy. I mean, it's not like green like it is here, like grass everywhere, but I wouldn't really call it sandy. It's kind of somewhere in the middle.
Chubbies, hey, we all know this guy. All the folks over at AP Prep, we cannot thank you enough. Look those guys up at apprep.info. We get asked all the time, hey, what happens? How do you get over there? Hey, that's how you do it. You get on apprep.info, you look them up, you set a time for your kid's assessment. They schedule a time, you bring your kid over there, boom, it's done. They get you right in the schedule. And hey, for all you adults, you just show up on Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday night at 5:30, and they got their boxing classes. It's $10, or you can join by the month. So look them up at apprep.info.
I don't really, you kind of just have to be there. But it is dry though.
Just dirt.
Kind of.
Just like dirt.
But like, okay, but if you drive outside of Fort Worth, I mean, you can 15, 20 minutes, whatever, however far it might be. I mean, you'll see pastures with cattle out grazing or horses turn. You know what I mean? Like Fort Worth is cool because, I mean, if you go west or east, I mean, you're 20, 30 minutes outside and you don't even feel like you're near the city, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, I mean, if you go north, it's about probably 45 minutes for you to get out of the city, going north from where I am. Yeah. But it's the same thing. Like, there's a lot of grass and pastures and, I mean, in that instance, but the difference is there, it doesn't grow the same. Like, it doesn't grow as fast and it's like a different type of grass. You know what I mean? So, like, whenever they have cattle out there, like, especially, like, kind of in those Midwestern states there, southern Midwestern states, I don't really know exactly how you want to categorize that. Yeah. But, I mean, the amount of cattle they're able to have on a plot of land is different than here. Like, you can have a lot more cattle grazing in one area here than you can out there just because of the way it grows differently. Yeah.
Are you in a dorm?
I was last semester, or last year, I guess. I have my own apartment this coming year, which will be nice.
Just single?
No, I'm sharing it actually with a roommate of mine. Okay. He's a friend from school. I met him through football, and he's a great guy. He's super cool.
Where's he from?
Memphis area. So
okay. You a horse guy?
He's not.
Yeah. But do you know any horse guys there at TCU?
Actually, I have a lot of friends there, especially like on the equestrian team. I mean, it's a women's sport, but I know a lot of them just from the horses, and then I even have a lot of like guy friends there too that I know from the horses. So that kind of made the transition easier there too. Already just knowing people
out there. Yeah, well, you fit in wherever. What do you think your overall plan is going to be though? What are you coming out of this wanting to do? So now you're a recruiter. You're getting people jobs.
Right. I'm trying. I'm doing my best.
For the summer.
Right. No, I actually love that. I love calling people. I love talking to them.
You're wanting to get into politics, though, overall.
Right. I think so. Moving forward, my plan right now is to work as like an agricultural lobbyist or somewhere in that realm. I love politics. It's something I'm really passionate about.
You thinking like Farm Bureau? What are you thinking? Like,
there's so many different areas you can get into. I actually was just in DC 2 weeks ago. This summer's flown by. I feel like every week's going together. It was probably like 2 weeks ago that I was in DC with AQHA, the American Quarter Horse Association.
I saw that.
So our youth association, we go there every summer and actually lobby for equine legislation, but we also have a lot of connections with like the American Horse Council there or the NCBA. So like we have a lot of different connections within our industry and outside our industry as well. Just like lobbying for this legislation or lobbying against, it kind of just depends on what it is. And I really enjoy that. And because you can make a difference and you can make an impact in something that you truly love. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's an area that I see myself really thriving in the future, something that I would love, and an area where I really feel like I can make an impact. And, and especially as we move forward, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot. I mean, you already see it now. There's already a lot of pushback on agriculture and agricultural practices. And I think it's just a matter of there needs to be more education on what truly goes on our farms and how important they really are. Because I think it's so easy to forget about how important farming is, even just the everyday life, from the cars that go down the road to the food that we eat to, even this table here, somehow agriculture impacted it being here. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of the driving force of our country. And I think it's just
supposed to be,
but it really is though. I mean, just think about it. If we don't have agriculture, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important to increase the education on whether it be within our legislators, even just the general public. I think it needs to be more mainstream and more widely known. And I know there's been so many initiatives in the past to do that. And I mean, even like think about when you think of beef, it's what's for dinner. I mean, that was one of those initiatives to like truly make that impact known. So, I mean, you think there's been a lot of iconic things like that, and I just want to be on the cutting edge of that and pushing that forward.
Did you watch that movie on Netflix called The Game Changers?
I haven't.
You need to watch that. And it's got like Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these guys, not to go back on this tangent, but you talked about this and that marketing ploy behind beef. It's what's for dinner.
Right.
And they talked about like the proteins in animals. And I got into this because that's what I thought was giving me the gout, right?
Right.
Well, they talked about how, and this all kind of goes back into agriculture, that the whole protein, you have to get your protein from animals. Now, you would be a great guy to study this, okay?
Right.
But they basically talked that was just a marketing ploy years ago. That really a lot of your proteins, if you think about it, that animal gets its protein from plants.
Right.
And it's just a byproduct of what that protein really already is anyway. So, which does make sense, right?
In theory, I can see where they're coming from.
Yeah.
Right?
So
I don't know. I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know because I'm not educated on that topic. But I would love to become more educated on that so I can have that conversation later on. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that would like fall into what you're trying to, in some fashion, like that would be a piece of that puzzle somewhere. Like, where is this whole beef thing at? Where is our food source at? And I think as time goes on, like, I think it's important for people to understand, like, what is in our foods.
Right. But I mean, you bring it back to like our plants, but think about like, the urbanization of so many areas. Think about all the major farmlands that are getting bought up and turned into shopping centers. You know what I mean? Or built,
shutting those down now, but yeah.
But you see what I'm saying, though, or
car lots,
right? There's just so much of that's happening, and once that change happens, you can't go back. You can't get what you have. So there has to be. I feel like just from where I stand, like from where I'm sitting right now, and like just from on the outside looking in, and like I said,
they do it for wildlife.
Right. That's what I was getting ready to say. So we see all this conservation for wildlife. I feel like we need to start focusing more on making this conservation for farmland as well. And I know there's been initiatives that have been taking place to like create this, but I also think, I also would like to see that maybe progressed a little more. But I obviously need to do more research on that before I can just come out and say this is where I stand. This is what I think, and because I'm not going to be a person that stands on a hill that I don't know anything about.
You didn't climb.
Right. Exactly. Like I like doing my own research. I like understanding it. I like talking to others. I think that's the biggest thing. That's the best way to learn is you want to get as many different perspectives as you can on a topic. So, even if it's someone you don't agree with, talk to them. Yeah. Because even if you don't agree with 10 of their points, they might have 5 others that you were like, okay, you actually have some validity there. Yep. And I know I've had those conversations even with like the equine legislation, just talking to groups that necessarily support things that as an association we might not support. But I'm like, there's a lot of validity to that. And then I take that piece that I learned and then I go back to like the people that I know that are within my association or with my group or whatever it may be. And I bring that up. I'm like, okay, so I've had this conversation with someone else. what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah.
Like, this is what I think after bringing in this information. What are your thoughts? How can we create this common ground? And I think that's just, I don't know. That's what I love about it. And I love talking to people. I love learning. And, you know, I love having this conversation with you. I love sitting here talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we're just bouncing ideas off each other. We're just talking.
Well, that conservation for wildlife is a big thing. I mean, you know, you take like Yellowstone National Forest.
It's huge.
I mean, even in Jackson, you've got Lake Catherine. You've
Right.
got, you know, Cooper Hollow. You've got all these places that are well, there's a difference between a conservation and a preservation.
Right.
You know, so I mean, there's just all kinds of different avenues that you can go with that. But that's how you keep your wildlife. That's how you sustain wildlife reproduction. That's how you sustain wildlife presence. That's, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that goes in there. And the same thing has to happen with farming. It's going to be interesting to see how much of this
we need
farming.
Sustainability. And I know it'll be interesting to see because we're in a year where they're trying to pass a new farm bill, which is like trillions of dollars. So, I mean, there's a lot of different pieces that go into that. So it'll be interesting to see what they come out with, like kind of the first version of that. Because obviously once one comes in, then, you know, it has to go through the whole process and, you know, pick out the riders, you keep the pieces that you want, you know, creating that collaboration. But like the farm bill.
What's the farm bill that's out now?
I'm not exactly sure on that. There's a different farm bill. Every so years they create a new farm bill that has to be passed. It's like, the word, it's slipping from my mind, but it's I can't think of exactly what it's called off the top of my head. I'm drawing a blank right now, but like it's one of the bills that has to be passed every so many years through the Congress.
Is it this year?
And then so there's a new farm bill that's going through right now, and I know like from our association we were asking for a lot of additional things to be added to the farm bill that would just help you know, even with like trail conservation, what else is it, like kind of the protection of horses, like equine animals.
It says it gradually increases the acreage cap for Conservation Reserve Program, CRP, to 27 million by 2023 and authorizes 2 new pilot programs through CRP that prioritize practices that help benefit water resources.
Right. So like, I mean, there's a lot of different things that
CRP is your Conservation Reserve Program, which I thought CRP stood for Crop Reduction Program.
Hey, Chubbies, when was the last time you had somebody take a look at your life insurance? It's something that nobody likes to talk about, but one thing I know about Pudge is he's coming to your funeral. You might as well have him show up with a check and take care of those loved ones. That's the time when they need it the most. He's writing it every day. Come have that conversation with him and get it done. And by the way, if you own a business and you haven't let Pudge quote your commercial insurance, you're making a mistake. Let him check it out. Make sure you got proper coverage for the best value on the market. Gillum Insurance for all your insurance needs, 740-395-0190.
Right. So like, but see, like that's just kind of, I mean, that's kind of an example. Like, I mean, I definitely need to go in and look more into that from a holistic standpoint of the farm bill. I only really know it from like kind of the equine side of what we were lobbying for, but I'm interested in looking at it as a whole and seeing how it affects everything. Because, you know, it is important, and that's also what I like about legislation. It's just that it's important to everybody, right?
Yeah.
Like it affects every person. So,
and you've got the patience for that. I would never have had the patience. My temper would have got me.
Right. I don't know. I mean, sometimes like if you like Congress.gov, I mean, that kind of sounds a little corny of me, but I love going through there and scrolling and just seeing. I just love seeing what pops up, like, cause I like seeing the bills. But some of them you look through and you're like, I can't really believe that this is something that is trying to get pushed through right now. You know what I mean? Like, it's just things you would never think of, good, bad, and different. Yeah. I mean, you're like, there's so many different ideas and so many different perspectives that's in our House and our Senate right now. That's just, it's interesting. It's super interesting.
Yeah, it's like those Indiana bats and like Man, I remember whenever the gas line came through my property, they set up overnight surveillance to make sure that there was no bats
right
on my property that they were going to be disturbing whenever they took out some
right.
trees.
Which that's a big thing.
That's a huge
Which I didn't realize that. I actually was having a conversation with someone at school. I don't even know how it came up, but like they were talking about like the bats, and they're like, yeah, like they're like protected.
Yeah,
and
like
I guess that
would have been something that would have had to been lobbied for.
Right. Which, but like, just like kind of being a typical person, I mean, you
killed the damn bat.
You wouldn't really know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I would have killed the bat.
There could be major repercussions that come from that. So
yeah, you're not allowed to kill a vulture. You're not allowed to kill like.
Really, I had no idea.
No, you're not allowed to kill like you see those vultures up in the air.
Right.
You're not allowed to kill those.
That's
They're protected.
crazy.
Yeah, there's now we were talking about like that black bear that just came through. That black bear would have came really close to you guys out there.
Really?
Yeah.
I wasn't home for that.
It came through Metzler's out there.
Really?
He had it on camera, but anyway, it's just like that bear. To my knowledge, me and Bo Kearns were talking, and nobody did this, but to my knowledge, I think anybody could have killed that bear. There's no season on those things.
Really?
There's nothing that's been done about it.
I'm not like I don't really know much about that. I've never really been one that's been into hunting.
Well, but that's that's part of the agriculture because huge part of agriculture. I mean, I've had claims in my insurance business from on agricultural cows that have been attacked by wild animals.
Right, I could see, right. That makes sense. Especially with like coyotes. I mean,
birds.
that's a big one.
Birds. A lot of times, whenever calves, when calves
right.
are born, the vultures will come in and they'll. This one time, especially we've got a major vulture problem right here in downtown Jackson, and they were landing on these calves and like plucking their eyeballs out.
I could see that happening.
And so that before you could eradicate that situation, you would have had to have lobbied to pass a law to be able to do that.
Right.
So that's kind of what you're into. So
it is.
So just like that black bear.
But that kind of shows like this, even what we're talking about now, that shows how much is involved in it.
Yes.
And that's the thing okay, so imagine you're a lawmaker right now. Imagine you're one of the senators or you're one of the representatives and you're sitting in Washington, D.C. right now and you have all these bills coming in on you. You've got hundreds of bills. I mean, you have all your staffers that are helping you decide what's good and what's bad, educating you. But you can't be knowledgeable on all of that.
So you need somebody there.
Right. So, even going into a position like that, I think would be interesting. Just being that, kind of that point person. And, that's what we were doing. And that's what kind of lobbying is being that point person for, a subject matter expert. If you're if you're that senator and you see something that comes across that's equine legislation or maybe agricultural related later on down in life, and you're like, I remember talking to Grant. Mm-hmm. I'm going to call him up and see what his thoughts are on this. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's just important in making connections there. And
absolutely.
That's the big thing. But I mean, this conversation that we're having right now kind of just made me think of that. And that's why it's important. Like the lobbying aspect's important though, because not only, I don't really feel like it's something that you're trying to convince a person one way or the other. You're trying to educate them in a way that they can make an informed decision that
helps everybody.
Hopefully helps you, but it helps everyone in the grand scheme of things.
Helps the situation.
Right. Like you want to educate them in a way that they see it from your perspective and they're like, okay, I'm going to support this.
Yes. Yeah.
Because you're not like, if you go into, it's like with anything. If you go into talking to somebody and you're like, I want you to think this way, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you're like, here, this is what I'm asking for your support on. Here's why we think this is a sport. Here's some other outside, they'll question you and they'll ask you some hard questions. I mean, some of those guys we talked to, they ask some really hard questions and, that comes to a point where you have to admit like, okay, I'm not educated on this, but if you give me 48 hours, I will go do my research. And if you give me your card and your number and your email, I will get back with you and I'll have an answer to you by then. And I think that's what's important too, is that follow up. And that's staying committed to the process. You want to tie it back to sports and being younger. Yeah. That's being committed to the process.
Yeah.
You can't just have an instant we all love instant gratification. I know I love instant gratification, but you have to be committed and see it through and see that what the long run outcomes.
Well, and you know, tying all that back around, you know, you see a lot of these parents that, you know, they're real quick to, you know, every game or every practice or whatever, they're posting pictures and they're doing all this stuff, and it, like you said, that made me think of that. It's instant gratification,
right?
But what are we learning?
Right.
You know,
it's the process
of what that was intended for.
Right.
You know,
I think there's just so much to be learned in that, and to like really be thought of and developed. And, you know what I mean? If you want to get down to it, I mean,
and it's all through life.
It's important to, I mean, even journal things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's something that I wish I was better about, was journaling. And I mean, even when I was, not really, but I feel like I should though, because think about it. If I ever run into a situation again, instead of trying to think back, I can be like, you know, I remember this happened around this time. Let me go like write down what I learned. You know what I mean?
I tried it at the beginning of the year. I was doing it. I did it like there was a couple things I was trying to keep track of. I was keeping track of like how many miles I'd been riding.
Right.
You know, just my overall mentality, you know, where my business was, just things I was learning, just journaling my daily stuff. And I, you know, honestly, I just I thought it was a waste of time.
Really?
I never felt like I was ever going to go back and look at those again. And I thought I was just writing them down because I told myself I was going to write them down, and that was the goal. And I never, because I'm not a look back type of guy.
Right. I think there's, I don't know. I feel like I could see that. I definitely see what you're saying there. And I think that's just kind of that. I don't know. It's like all about your perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's bad.
Right,
I'm just saying for me, I was like,
different.
Yeah.
And
I was like, I don't know if I'll ever look back on that or not. Now,
and I feel like, I mean,
well,
I feel like I was better. I feel like I wish I was better about that. I'm not going to say I would always go back and look at it, but it also would be interesting to see. I mean, I do it with like pictures, right? Like I'll go back and I'll watch videos or watch pictures, and or like look at pictures, and I'll see the difference in a year or 2 years or 3 years. You know what I mean? So I think like that documentation is important. I think how you document kind of depends on you. So
micromanaging each day at the end of the day, I don't know on a piece of paper
it depends on the person, right? With that situation.
Well, what turned me on to that was, as you know, Phil Bowman passed away a few years ago, and Bo, his son, you know, a good friend of mine, he was telling me he had his dad's journals,
right,
and he had been reading them, and I was like, yeah, it'd be kind of cool to leave Gibson, you know, my journals, and you know, whatever, if he ever wanted to read them. And then, you know, it was like, you know, I mean, what do you put in this thing every single day,
right? And I think, I don't know, I feel like I've had this conversation in the past with people, like I feel like the whole journaling thing. It is what you make it.
It is.
It's not.
I'm not a writer.
Right. There's not a set way. But like, I mean, even if it's just drawing a picture or a few words or key words, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that could be all that makes a difference.
You're right.
And I mean,
you're right. Know. I mean, I was taking it to another level, and I'm not saying it was bad. I just got into it, and I was like, I'm probably gonna skip this journal stuff.
I'm gonna skip this chapter.
Yeah, I'm gonna start, and I may go back to it. I'm not a great writer. Funny story. I found I was cleaning out one of my places the other day, and I found my old 8th grade cards. Grant, I was the worst student on the planet. I was embarrassed to just let my son see them.
You're like, you don't
F's,
need to see these
C's, and I mean, a lot of those things that were the bad grades, I'm still bad at.
Really?
Yeah, but no big deal. I mean, I failed home ec. Well, I married a teacher. You know, I mean, with cooks.
Even now.
Yeah, I mean, I did not need to be good at home ec. You know, I mean, I owned a microwave.
Right.
I mean, it's funny how like education and just all that stuff is just it's whatever you want to put into it and whatever you want to take out of it.
But I mean, I think that's life.
Well, yeah, it is.
Truly.
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean,
you know, I mean, like, I think that's true with.
Well,
whatever you do.
Yeah. And back then, though, I did not know and I didn't have any reason to put anything into it, and I didn't have any reason to take anything out of it. I was just kind of going through it. You know, there again, going back to you and Olivia, I mean, you guys always put in a lot, took out a lot. I mean, you know, you guys just killing the game, man. killing the game. I mean, I can't say enough great things about you two guys or you two kids.
She's awesome, and her and I we've always been friends. We've always grown up together. Yeah. But like throughout this past year, it'll be like once a month, or it might be random out of the blue, but we would just call each other and just see what's going on. Talk about school. Yeah. And like when we came home, we'd always just kind of like go to the spot and meet up and grab a coffee or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I mean, that's just I've enjoyed having those type of friendships in my life, and just having those people surrounding me, and it's great to know when it's truly great to know when someone cares. You know what I mean? I feel like everybody needs someone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Even if it's just one person, if you can impact one person's life, you don't know the world of difference that can make. Yep. Yeah. Well, so everyone needs someone though.
And speaking of that, let's give a shout out to your boy Holden.
Right. For sure.
That'll be out by the time this comes out. That news will be out. So sorry Holden for your loss. That camera's looking at me, but sorry Holden. We been thinking about you all day. I'm sure you have too. We talked about him before the show, and man, that's how I remember you growing up was you and Holden.
Yeah, we'd put those football helmets on, and we go play our tackle football out in the snow. And
man, you guys grew up on me, man. Man, how old are you? 20 yet?
I'm 19.
19.
I just turned
When will
19.
you be out of the horse business in the youth?
Out of youth?
Yeah.
This is my last year of youth. So it goes from your birthday as of January 1, so where I'm still 18. Yeah. And it's 18 and under for the youth, and then so once January 1 rolls around, then I'll officially be an amateur. So that'll be a different step, but I mean, I'm looking forward to it though. All of my friends are out. Yeah. All of my friends are amateurs. So
you're going to go back to who you were competing against.
Right. No, I'll be back to the same people, but no, I mean, I've stayed friends. I've got a lot of great friends all over the spectrum with it, and I don't know.
You'll be fine.
I'm just grateful for
I'm just grateful to win.
I don't know.
You just got there to win.
I'll do my best, that's for sure.
I know. You gonna come back and see us again?
Always.
So what's the summer like?
I'm busy.
I
feel like I've got something every week, but I love it. I'd rather stay busy and always on the go than not doing anything at all, right?
And what's amazing with you are not a social media kid. Like, you don't sit around on social media.
I mean, like, relative, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't do all that. I mean, man, it's just I'm looking forward to seeing what. Hey, tell me what before we wrap up. What's this thing you got in? This is it McNeely? What?
Oh, the Neely Fellows.
Neely Fellows. Yeah, what is that?
Right. So it's the honors cohort for the business school. So TCU has our business school is Neely School of Business, and the Neely Fellows is the honors cohort of that. So it's around. They bring in around 30 they bring in about 30
people,
cohort members out of like over 100 applicants from the honors college that are like in the business school. And it's just great. You take specific classes with each other, go on trips. I know over spring break we'll take a big trip. And
so this
just
is like
a different.
This is like a not a fraternity,
right? It's a cohort.
I don't know what that is.
So like it's just like a group of people. Like so we'll take like for this upcoming semester example, there's like the 30 of us, or I forget exactly the amount. We'll take like accounting together, and then we'll take a marketing management class and like a lab together, and then we'll have different trips over this first semester that we'll kind of do together. Extracurricular type activities, and then like over our spring semester, we'll have like specific classes that we take together again. And
new trips,
and it's like that over the next 3 years.
You have to pay for it.
So, you don't have to pay to be in it. No.
So it's provided to you by who?
Oh, by the school, the honors college.
Oh, so they pay for all that. So like, give me an example of a trip that you'll get to take.
So, like, I know last year they went to New York and met with some major companies, especially that had, like, TCU connections. And so it's just, like,
so they'll put you up in the hotel and –
right. So, like, you'll be I don't know the exact details of all, but, like, just off the top of my head right now, because this is fairly new. I just got accepted, I think, like a week ago. So it's all fairly new. I'm still trying to, like, make sure I understand it all exactly. Obviously, I had to understand it to get into it, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot more in the nitty-gritty, per se, once you're actually in it. But, it's a great opportunity. Just create connections all over the world within the Neely School. I know they've had so many people come from like the honors cohort that have gone on the Fortune 500 companies.
Yeah, give me some of these guys. Who's some of these guys coming out of this?
Like where they've gone?
Yeah, give me some rich people.
I don't really know. I don't really have like specific names off the top of my head, but I mean, there's been people who have gone to like Harvard Law. You know, they're executives at different companies like Microsoft or I don't even know.
What's like, TCU's? What are they known for?
We're a big business school, big in finance.
Big in finance.
So I
find you guys on Wall Street.
Right. So, yeah, a lot of people have gone on to Wall Street. I mean, there's just so many. I mean, there's so many. There's endless possibilities.
Finance has to be everywhere.
Right. But there's like so many endless possibilities that come from that school of business there.
Yeah.
And like, especially being in that DFW area where it's constantly growing so much. I mean, I think Fort Worth is the 12th largest city in the country right now. And it's continuously growing.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and then you have Dallas that's 40 minutes away.
How far is Austin?
Austin, I want to say it's a few hours. I don't know that it's quite. I don't think it's quite 3. I think it's more.
That's
closer.
Supposed to be up and coming.
I think it's closer to like an hour and a half, maybe.
But
2 hours.
I don't know how.
It's Austin's big in tech, I believe.
Yeah. So's Houston, and I used to go to Galveston every year.
Right, which that's down in that Houston area.
Houston.
There.
I'd fly into Hobby.
Right.
And I'd drive to Galveston, and that was starting to get kind of techy, but.
Right. I think Austin's like the big
tech boom.
I know. I think I'm pretty sure Tesla just recently moved there to Austin. I know a lot of other companies have as well. So
Texas is just, whenever they say Texas, it's just so big.
It's huge.
Like whenever like you think of Austin, like, that's not thinking of like a town. Like it's like even Dallas Fort Worth, that's an area.
Right.
Compared to like an Ohio town.
Right.
Like Dallas Fort Worth is the size of Franklin County.
Dallas Fort Worth is huge. Yeah, there's a few I think there's at least 2 counties within the Dallas Fort Worth like Metroplex. I mean, it's
huge.
It's humongous.
2 counties inside the Metroplex.
Like it's humongous, and like
think of that.
And then like even Arlington in the middle is growing because Dallas and Fort Worth just keep coming together.
How many square miles? I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna say how many.
I think you should ask Siri on that one. But what's awesome about Fort Worth though is it's a major city, but you do not feel like you're in a major city. If that makes any sense at all, what I'm saying. It's just like very slowed down. Like the thing is, whenever you're driving from Dallas to Fort Worth, there's a sign that says like Fort Worth, where the West begins.
Uh-huh.
And like they truly embody that kind of like that cowboy mentality out there, just that Western way of life, like that mentality through everything. So to
put this in perspective, the Dallas Fort Worth area is 9,286 miles. 9,286. Okay. Franklin County, Ohio. 9,286 was Dallas Fort Worth. Now we're going to go Franklin County, Ohio. 544.
Right, it's a huge difference there.
20 times bigger than Franklin County.
Right, it's huge. Like I don't know, I love it down there.
That's insane.
Really great.
Dude. That's how big. That's bigger than all of. That's the 270 outer belt, basically.
Right.
And it's 20 times bigger than that. The Dallas Fort Worth area.
It's insane. You have to come down sometime.
I think I have to now. I've never been to Stockyards. Never done that.
The Stockyards are awesome. You'd really enjoy that. Yeah. There's just a lot of kind of cool historical type places. Mm-hmm. If you think of like red dirt Texas country, and like you'll kind of hear these, I guess, references to like, I guess, different like Bari areas or different like even just different areas in Texas, but like specifically in Fort Worth, like different locations of Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. And then like you'll just be driving by and you're like, why do I know that? And then you're like, oh, that song. Yeah. Or like especially a lot of Casey Donahue. I don't know if you've listened to him, but I mean he's from Fort Worth, but I mean he makes a lot of references, especially to that.
And those guys, you could probably go if it's that big. There's probably so much entertainment going around.
Oh, Billy Bob's every weekend. Has great performance coming
What's
in.
the population of that?
Of
Dallas Fort Worth?
A lot of people. I don't know the exact answer on that.
Columbus is what?
I don't have I don't really know, Pudge. You're asking the hard-hitting questions right now.
Population of Ohio is 11.7 million. Population of Dallas, Fort Worth, Metroplex.
We're asking Google all the good questions.
6.5 million. So it's half the size. It's 20 times bigger than Franklin County. Okay, so it's 20. What is the population of Franklin County, Ohio? I always like to do these.
Make the comparisons.
Franklin County, Ohio. Population.
You should create an app where you can just plug it in.
1.3 million. So it's six times in population.
Around six times.
So that's still spacier because it's 20 times bigger.
Right.
So it's still got more space.
There's a lot of people, but yeah, I mean, you have.
But you're not jammed in there like Columbus.
No, it's super spread out. I mean, Fort Worth, from where I am, you can drive 30, 45 minutes north and you're still in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So, like, it's really spread out. Or, like, even from campus, I mean, you can drive, like, 15, 20 minutes. I mean, it's kind of all relative, especially when they consider traffic or the roads or whatever. But, I mean, like, you can still drive for a little bit and still be kind of within what's considered Fort Worth. Now, like, downtown itself isn't really that huge. I mean, downtown kind of has a Columbus vibe when I think of Fort Worth. They kind of have similar vibes to one another.
Yep.
But Fort Worth itself is pretty big. I feel like maybe one of the differences between like Fort Worth and Columbus, for example, though, is, and maybe it's just because I'm not as familiar with that area as I am with Columbus. Mm-hmm. But whenever you think of like Columbus, you think of like Hilliard or Upper Arlington or like, different areas around that. You know what I mean? Like kind of the suburby areas. Uh-huh. But I don't feel like there's like that same suburby feel immediately like next to Fort Worth. I mean, you have like Aledo, which is right down the road. But I mean, even that though, I feel like there's separation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't all just like run together.
Right. Yeah. Where Columbus is all like
relative. But I
gotta get down there and see it.
Yeah, I feel like you'd love it. Yeah. We'll have to look at the schedule at Billy Bob's. There's always great people. You ever listen to Charlie Robinson?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I saw him in concert.
Did you really?
Before I came back?
Uh-huh.
Great concert.
They sing
New Year's Day?
No, what's the one that My Hometown? I had a buddy back in 81.
Right, no, I know the song. I don't think he was like, he started off singing his stuff and then he got to the point where he just quit looking at his set list and started doing covers of random songs.
Yeah.
But then he closed out with Sunset Boulevard, and everybody went crazy.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it was a great show. Or like Robert Earl Keen, I saw him down there.
Okay.
That was a great show.
Oh, yeah.
You ever listen to Flatland?
Nope.
Cavalry?
Nope.
They're really good. They were great in concert.
Well, you're into this Texas music, aren't you?
I love the Red Dirt, which I did even before I went down there.
Yeah.
But even like just being there, like you get to go see those guys. And I mean, there's been a lot of randoms too that like, I mean, you pay $20 to go see someone play for 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and you're at Billy Bob's iconic honky tonk. Like,
yeah, that get any better.
You're not going to not go. Or even like AT&T Stadium, like there's always some concerts there. Like I went to the Luke Combs concert with like Riley Green and all those guys. And that was you want to talk about a great concert. He's awesome to listen to in person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
awesome.
Man, it's crazy. I've jumped out of that Western stuff, and I didn't mean to. It just happened,
right?
And I haven't been listening to music. The music I've been listening to has been like hip hop here lately.
Really?
Yeah, I mean that or
old school or new stuff.
Old school.
Old school. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, old school. I've been in that, and I've been listening to some new country and stuff. But I've got out of that red dirt Western stuff. I still like it. But I haven't been listening to it. Maybe I need to get. I've been listening to Co Wetzel some.
Dude, Co Wetzel's awesome.
Yeah, I've been listening to him.
Co Wetzel, he's great, and like Parker McCollum. I feel like you really would like Parker McCollum. I don't know if you listen to him.
Oh yeah,
he's awesome too.
What's that song he's got? I really like. Shoot, I'd have to think of it.
I don't know. There's a lot.
Parker McCollum is Parker McCollum's really good. I like him.
Who else do I listen to? I listen to so many of those guys. Yeah. Like Coulter Wall.
I never got bit by that.
Really?
Nope.
I feel like you'd be a big Coulter Wall guy.
Too dark.
Okay, I could see it.
I'm a feel good music guy.
It just depends. Okay, I'm not gonna say I like jammed all of his songs, but I do like I think he has such a cool voice.
I'll give that to him. Yeah.
Like, he's got a cool voice, got a cool sound. I like listening to that.
I like his story. He works on a ranch, and
he's a real
he's a real rancher.
Cowboy. Yeah. And he kind of does the music gig on the side.
Because there's nothing used to make me any madder than going to one of those things and seeing a fake.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know what you mean.
You know, like.
But, yeah, no, there's a lot of. My biggest thing, though, this is what I love when it comes to, like, music. I love finding the guys that nobody else knows about.
Yeah.
You know
I
what
went
I mean?
through that phase.
And, like, especially like, with the, like, Red Dirt, like, there's so many guys that are really good. They just don't have that mainstream. And then, like,
Cody Jinks.
Cody Jinks is awesome, and he's very popular, but I don't feel like he gets the credit he deserves.
He's not on radio.
What?
He's not on radio.
No.
So that's what that is.
But he's very good.
Radio country and
It's
that
different.
is different. Yeah.
It's different. But I feel like there's kind of like with the like Zach Bryans of the world and Tyler Childers coming around.
So I never did get into them either.
See, I like Zach. I think Zach Bryan's awesome, and I really liked his like original stuff, and that's kind of what drew me in because I mean it was just him and a guitar and just going at it, and like I just loved it. And
Hardy, I listened to a ton of Hardy.
He's good. I enjoy listening to him. He's with him personally, like just finding I'm not like I love every single song, but there's some songs I'll turn on like, you know, that's a great song. You know what I mean?
I like anything that gets me fired up.
I could see that from you.
Yeah.
I'm more of a more mellow guy.
Are you?
Yeah, I kind of listen to the sadder songs. I don't know why.
Chad's been listening to classical choral music.
What is that?
Like hymns.
Really?
Oh, Chad loves a good hymn.
I could see it.
Yeah, he does. He likes to.
Hey, that's good for him, though.
He likes it. He says it's therapeutic.
I could see that. I mean, it's good to have on those kind of vibes every now and then, I guess.
Yeah, Chad loves a good classical choral hymn. So you might try that. I probably wouldn't try to run into your friends.
Maybe just one day when I'm driving in the
by
car,
yourself,
you know.
Nobody around, windows up.
Windows sealed tight.
Doors locked.
Doors locked.
Maybe down a country road.
That's
nobody
what I was getting ready
inside.
to say. Maybe going down Jisco on my way home. I'll take the long way.
Yeah,
you know?
Preferably, you know, after hours when nobody's typically out.
Right.
You know, just crank it. See if it
and
relaxes.
just see if it works.
See if it works.
We're thinking about you, Chad.
Yeah,
we miss you.
Yeah, we miss you, Chad.
We miss you.
Chad was really wanting to be here. He was wanting to talk football with you.
Right.
So. But Grant, we've been at it a minute, bud. Let's get you back. All right. I appreciate you coming in. So you gonna keep us posted?
I'll keep you posted. I always keep you.
You always keep us posted. Shout out all of our sponsors. We saw Grant last night. One of our sponsors, AP over there. I got my new.
Repping them.
I'm repping the new shirt. You can get on their website and get you one of those.
Right, I need to get me one.
This is embroidered.
It's a good looking shirt.
It's a good looking shirt. Yeah, my other one I wear.
They should have taken a picture of you and used you on the website.
They still may.
Right.
Maybe I got to get down to.
We need to talk to Jason. Yeah,
you can't. You know, he's too big.
No.
You know, you got to really know somebody to talk to. Jason.
He's a busy guy, but he does. He's great with what he does.
He really is. He's truly good at what he does.
Talk about a hustler. That's another one.
Weight room coach. I'm excited to see where that goes.
I agree. Let me tell you. I don't mean to keep us going, but weight room coach, like that's the next big thing.
Tell me about it.
So I use weight room coach even over the winter time, but what it does is you can take your workouts and like your maxes and everything that you're doing and you can upload it right into the app, right? And then it helps create workouts for you. So like I know on Jason's end, like he'd say, okay, like he kind of formulate the workouts like this is what we're going to focus on this week, and it tell you how many reps you're doing. You could set it where it's a sequence. So say you had like bench, back squat, cleans, right? So you did your rep of bench and then you hit like the play button or whatever, then it takes you right to your what you're supposed to be doing for your squats and then what you're supposed to be doing for your cleans.
So it's a coach in your head.
Once you're
or on your phone.
It's a coach. Yeah, it's weight room coach. I mean, it is what it says it is, and it tells you the exact
earbuds.
It does not like that, but like you know, what I mean, like once you're finished with it and you hit like you've completed that set, it'll take you to what you're supposed to be doing next. And, you know, it's awesome. And I know they keep working on it and fine tuning it and just making it like perfect for the users to use, and user friendly. But I mean, it tells you the reps, tells you the weights. I mean, it goes through everything. And I mean, what he's doing is next level. And I mean, even like with the sheets and all that, I mean, that's what we use in like our college weight rooms. Right. And that's what, I feel like Jason's he's ahead of the curve, and I feel like he saw saw an area where he can make a difference, and he hit the ground running, and I'm excited to see what he does with that, and it's awesome. It's awesome, and I mean, if you're a coach around here, especially, I mean, if you're not talking to him, not talking to Jason about getting program better.
Yeah, if you're not using that with your team, I feel like that's not.
You're losing out.
You're losing, yeah.
And, I mean, I know we've been kind of on that program at Jackson, and we kind of we're on, like, the front end of that, obviously, like, building up. And, I mean, even made a difference in the program here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just having that strict
he runs the program
workout
here.
Right, so the strict workout program. So I mean, it's next level.
What they did with Gibson, like what Drew, Jason wouldn't care if I said this, but what Drew did with Jason this year over there, Drew's runs the kids stuff,
right?
Honestly, I mean, I wish that I would have done like a before and after.
Hey Chubbies, how many points do you have on the McDonald's app? We all know and love the McDonald's app, and we want to thank Brad and Sarah Munn for being a great sponsor of our show and of our communities here in Jackson, Oak Hill, Wellston, and MacArthur. McDonald's, check them out.
But it's just the difference in the movement from this year, just overall running, and Gibson's body movement was incredible. And I told Drew, I said, this is what I want to focus in on him. I said, I'm having troubles with this. Gibson's been going over there a little over a year, and he goes once, twice a week. Me, I'm not wearing him out over there.
I mean, at that age, I mean, you have to let their bodies grow.
He got to let his bodies grow. If he's got baseball, we don't go. If he's got something else, we don't go. But whenever it's off season, we that's what we do.
Right.
And man, I told Drew, I said, he's a little flat-footed, but he's got it there. He needs it brought out of him, and he's not all the way there yet. But boy, did he speed that process up for me. I mean, Drew really got the most out of Gibson, just overall body. He's using his body so much better. He's not, let's say, what I'd say quick with it, but he's fundamental as all get out.
Right.
I mean, he's right there. I mean, it's
no, they make a huge difference.
Huge difference. Yeah,
they do a great job over there.
Yeah, and it's not like you can't give a kid speed. I mean, you can work on speed, but they're either going to be fat. Your speed.
I mean, there's so much that's natural.
Yes,
but what they're doing over there
is
maximize your natural potential.
That's right. Yes,
and then some. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're helping you achieve. If you buy into the program,
yes,
and you do what they tell you to do,
yes,
you're going to get your money's worth and then some.
Absolutely,
it's great.
It is, and that's a great way of putting it. They totally maximized what my son was able to do. And I couldn't. And I mean, I played sports, and I'm a dad, and I'm an involved dad. But I did not have number one, the equipment, number two, the know-how, number three, the ability, the education. It's a science. I mean, let them do that. That's what they do. And I'm just tickled to death with the overall result. I'm tickled to death with my overall result. Me and Wolford got into it. Not got into it, but we were talking. And, he was like, "Boy, that stuff. Why are you doing all this stuff? It's hard on you. Why are you doing all this biking? And why are you doing all this?" And I said, "You're doing all this boxing. What?" And I said, "Yeah, Shane." I said, "It's real hard on your body." We were comparing running versus the boxing, and I said, "Yeah, Shane." I said, "It's real hard on your body standing on a mat with two pillows on your hand, hitting another big pillow." I said, "Boy," you wouldn't believe how hard that is on my joints compared to running on the concrete."
Right.
Because,
but I mean, you still get, you get crazy amount of cardio. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but you do get a crazy amount of cardio.
But you're not like,
boxing.
But your body's not sore like you just went out and jogged 5 miles.
Right. It's a different kind of sore.
Absolutely.
But it's just relative to what you want and to what your experience is. And
I'm not saying don't go run.
Anything. Right.
I'm saying at my age, 42, at my weight, it works for me right now.
And I think that's what it's all about, especially with anything you're doing. You have to do what works for you.
Well, and because I've been begging Wolford to get over there.
Right.
Oh yeah, I've been begging.
He needs to get over there with Cade.
I know. Cade's been in baseball season. Has
Right.
Cade made a decision where he's going?
I don't think so. Yeah, I know he's got some pretty good offers on the table though, and
I love his footwork.
he's awesome. He's a great.
He's a great
too.
kid. He's a great kid. There's
Great
another
athlete, great kid.
There's another kid I would put in there with you and Olivia.
I really like him a lot.
I love Cade. There are some great kids coming out of the youth stuff now that I've noticed. But you and Olivia, that I've paid attention to, have just done incredible things. I mean, I'm tickled to death to you guys. So
I appreciate it.
come back and see us, and we'll get Chad here next time. So Chubby,
sounds great.
Like and subscribe, and we'll see Grant next time,
Right?
man. All
Better
right,
hit that subscribe button.
subscribe. Now you gotta say it.
You gotta hit it.
All right, see you, man.
We'll see ya.